In this tutorial, we will take the message service, which we created in the last tutorial, and expose it as a RESTful API and as a socket-enabled real-time API. So the first thing we'll need to do is install some dependencies. We'll install @feathers.js/express, and we'll also install @feathers.js/socket.io. Now, these two packages are going to enable us to turn this basic service into something that we can actually call from a REST client or a socket client. Now that we have those dependencies, we'll bring them in. So up at the top here, we'll say const express equals require @feathers.js/express. And then we'll create another variable called socket.io. And that's going to be equal to require @feathers.js/socket.io. Awesome. Now I'm going to move this app creation below the message service because we're going to have to do some extra stuff here. So I'm going to move it there. And now we can actually tap into some of the features of using this as a RESTful API. So now instead of creating a Feathers application directly, we actually want to create an Express application like so, and then pass our Feathers application into it. And this essentially enables Feathers to interact with Express, and it adds a few things on top of it to allow us to use our Feathers service with Express. And now you'll note here we are bringing Express in from @feathers.js, so this isn't the just straight Express package, but it's just simple wrapper on top of built by the Feathers.js team. So here we'll create the Express app, pass Feathers into it, and now we'll set up some middleware just like you would with an Express application. So first thing I'll do is say app.use. I'll say express.json. This is a JSON body parsing middleware. So if we are making post requests to our server with JSON data, this will know how to interpret that. We'll also set up express.url encoded, and we'll pass extended true. And this is a middleware that will parse incoming form data. So when REST clients are sending data to our server, these two middlewares will know how to interpret it. We'll also set up a static serve. Oh, I have a typo, app.use. But below that, I'll say app.use express.static. And we will serve up this current directory. Now, right now, we aren't going to be doing any static serve, but in the next tutorial, we will build a simple client that will be served from this Express app. So this static serve will be able to serve up those client files. And now we have our basic middleware set up. We're actually going to configure our application to use the REST protocol through Express and the socket protocol through the socket.io package. And for that, we'll use app.configure. This is my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. If you're sitting at home, go ahead and stand up. Stretch your arms. Move your hands away from the keyboard. All right, back to it. So we'll say app.configure, and we'll pass in express.rest. Now, with this one line of code, we have now enabled our services to be available over a RESTful API. And below that line, we'll also say app.configure. Configure with socket.io. And with this one line of code, we have now exposed our Feathers application over sockets. Awesome. Now, line 33 is going to change slightly. Instead of saying app.use messages, we're going to say app.use/messages. And you can think of this like registering a route in Express. Now, all of our messages service will be available as RESTful routes at the /messages route. And that's how we register the service. But anywhere else, we'll still be able to access the service as messages. And the last thing we'll do is use the error handler provided for us by the Express Feathers package. So we'll say app.use express.error handler. And this is just a slightly nicer error handler than the built-in Express one, which is provided by Feathers in their wrapper on top of Express. So that's great. And now I'm actually going to delete all of the code here that was creating messages and retrieving messages. We'll write that again, but we're going to clean that up for now. And the first thing I'll do is set up our socket channels. So I'm going to say app.on connection. And now this will get called anytime a client connects to our app. And we're going to get access to the connection. And then inside of here, we're going to join that connection to the everybody channel. So we'll say app.channel everybody. .join connection. And so when a client socket or a socket client connects to our application, this now puts them in the everybody channel. And then what we'll do is anytime an event happens, so anytime in our case, a message is created, we'll publish that event to everyone in the everybody channel. So below this, I'll say app.publish. And here I'm just going to say app.channel everybody. And now the app.publish function registers a function that returns the channel that should receive that particular message. So in this case, I'm just returning the channel. Under the hood, it's going to know to alert everyone that's in that channel. Now, last thing we'll do is listen on port 3030. So I'll say app.listen 3030. And then when we are listening, we want to run this simple callback function that just logs to the console. We'll say feathers server listening on localhost 3030. Awesome. And this is our Feathers application now exposed over sockets with these lines of code and this line of code, and now exposed over REST with this line of code and this line of code. Easy enough to just see that in action. If I say app.service messages, and then we will create a new message. Hello world from the server. So typically you wouldn't do this. You would make a request to the backend to create a message with potentially a post request. But for now, we're just going to create that so we can actually see this in action. So this creates a message. So now if I were to retrieve messages, we should see one message in that message array. So now I will start up the application. And we should see it's listening on localhost 3030. So let's open that up. First, we see cannot get slash because we actually haven't set up the slash route and we don't have any static file like index.html to serve. But if you remember, we exposed this as a RESTful API on slash messages. So if I visit slash messages, we should get the array of messages. As simple as that. Now, of course, you don't want your users just viewing JSON in the browser. You want them to use a web client. And so in the next video, we'll build a super basic client that allows us to list all the messages from the servers and see new incoming messages and create messages. So we'll see you there.